Regina Coeli, Queen of the Heavens. And here to the right, coming up, is a little garden, and there's a beautiful villa. Mind you that in the Middle Ages and then in the Renaissance periods, the popes who were commissioning all these works of art, of course, they needed money. And one of the bankers of the popes was the Chigi family. They were from Siena, and they built for themselves a beautiful villa. Now, not too visible because it's dark and it's not illuminated. But here, behind the trees to the right, is the garden and this villa, beautifully decorated and painted fresco by Raphael. It is said that the banker, the Chigi, would organize these big banquets in the evening, and then to show off in front of his guests, he would throw out of the window the silver and gold dishes, yeah, and also all the silverware. But then he sent at nighttime his servants to go pick up whatever he had thrown out from the window. And here's the villa just here to the right behind the trees. And this road takes us to another important district. First of all, the bridge to the left, this is the one built by the Pope Sixtus IV, the same one that commissioned the construction of the Sistine Chapel. You see that hole in the middle there between the arches. That was purposely made and left for when the level of the river raised very much, and therefore it allowed the water to flow. To the right is one of the squares of a very important district. This is Trastevere here to the right. Tevere is the name, the modern name of the river. You call it Tiber because originally in Latin it was called Tiber, but now we call it Tevere. And so the district takes the name Trastevere, across the Tiber. Very popular district with a lot of restaurants, cafes, and clubs. Still pretty much very busy at night. To the left, coming up after this bridge, you will see an island right here in the middle of the river, the only island in the middle of River Tiber. It is there to the left. This is the Tiberine Island. Back in ancient times, during the Roman period, it used to be a medical center, and still now, after so many centuries, it still is a medical center. The building to your left is a hospital, run by the nuns, Frate Bene Fratelli, and you can see this bridge right here connecting the island to the side of the street. This is a bridge from the 1st century BC. Could you imagine that? It's still in use. And this time I told you it's a big celebration for Rome. Tomorrow is the feast of the patron saint, and down on the island they have an open-air cinema, they have all the cafes for the whole summer along on the island and along the walkways around the waterfront down by the river. There you have a good view of it. A lot of partying down there at nights for the whole summer. People like to enjoy when it cools down at this time of the day. So lots of the cafes will be open. They're there just for the summer, however. This bridge is nicknamed the English Bridge. Why? Because we're driving on the left. Okay, and here we're coming by, now we are on the left bank of the river. And this is where, of course, most of the historical buildings and the city center is. You know that in ancient Roman times, the other side of the river, Trastevere, was a district only for the foreigners. The ancient city was built all on this side. You saw this morning the Palatine Hill above the, just above the Roman Forum. And here we're on the opposite side of the Palatine Hill, and we'll be driving along the Capitol Hill, which is where the most important temples were built in ancient Rome. The parades, military parades that you saw you saw this morning, going through the Roman Forum, the Sacred Way. Military parades would go through the Roman Forum, and then at the very end they would climb up to the Capitoline Hill, where you had the most important temple. That's where you had the temple dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, the 3 most important gods of the Roman Empire.
Cabernet, could you have the lights off in the middle here? The glare?
Le luci centrali se gliele spegni perché si vede sopra.
There you go.
lo spegni e lui che tu fai? No, quella è la centrale, vabbè, lascia stare.
Okay, so don't ring for the waiters anymore. Nobody's gonna bring you wine. And here we have this area which sloped down gradually to the river. This is where we had the harbor of the city. You know, there was a major city on the coastline which is called Ostia, and barges took the food all the way up to the river. In this area, we had the port. And this temple right here to the right, this was dedicated to god Fortunus, while the circular temple always to the right is a temple dedicated to Hercules. Now, straight ahead in front of us, where you see this bell tower, unfortunately now under scaffolding, is a very ancient church. And here we have the famous Mouth of Truth, just through the railing here to the left. On the wall to the left is a mask, the famous mask. There it is. You see the circular mask over there through the railing? That's where some of you probably saw a very old movie with Audrey Hepburn and I forgot his name. He was joking, Roman Holidays. He put his hand in the mask and pretended that it was the mask, chopped it off. It was a tradition. But that mask you see there, that big circular marble thing you see on the wall, that used to be a sewer. But the popes saw that it was so beautiful they thought they would use it and place it to decorate the side of the wall. But tradition was that people took, women took their husbands there, and husbands took their women there, and it is said that if they put their hand and they were asked the question, if they did not say the truth, their hand will be chopped off. So here we're climbing one of the 7 hills. This is the Aventine Hill to the right, while in the valley below to our left, over here, this is where the Circus Maximus used to be. The Romans loved the gladiatorial fights, but another famous sport was of course, the chariot races, and that took place right here. Circus Maximus was the largest of all the circuses. It could host up to 250,000 people. Can you imagine? And of course, teams, they usually had 4 teams going around with the chariots 4 times. While on the hill opposite to your left, that's where you had the Caesar's Palace. Unfortunately, I think the mayor hasn't paid the bill. Lights are off, usually it's all illuminated. Those were the imperial palaces on the top of the Palatine Hill. To the right, we have the Rose Garden. This over here on top of this hill, this is the second American embassy in Rome. Did you know we have 2 embassies for every country in the city? Yes, we do. Because we have 1 embassy to the Italian state and 1 embassy to the Vatican. And since the Vatican does not have enough room to house all the embassies, they're scattered throughout the city. So we have twice as many embassies. Straight in front of you, this building, this white building, dates back to the fascist period. It was used by Mussolini as one of the ministries, but it is now used as a United Nations building. This is where we have the Food and Agricultural Administration of the United Nations. It's based right here. And now, as we turn to the left, you will have a view of the whole length of the Circus Maximus. By the way, this is exactly the spot where they say that the famous fire started, the fire of Nero that destroyed all of the city. Now, nothing left much of that circus, as all the marble seats have been removed and recycled through the centuries. So to the left there, you will see now, there it is. Pretty huge area. And you can actually spot in the distance the lantern above St. Peter's Dome, way in the distance. And here to the right, we have at the end of the street, it's a very beautiful large avenue covered with trees. We have the very beginning of the ancient Appian Way. It begins there, the last traffic light, and left Rome going towards the south. In this area, we also have the very large baths of Caracalla. Caracalla was one of the emperors. He had built some of the most important baths, ancient Roman baths. Tomorrow in Pompeii, actually, you will have an idea of Roman baths, as you will be able to go exactly through the ruins, and our guide will probably take you in there. Here we're going around the Palatine Hill, which is up this hill to the left. This is where Rome originated. The first area delimited by Romulus, who was the first king of Italy's legendary founder of the city. Little piece